And in 3, 2, 1, hello, my dear sweet little chickadees, and welcome to another video from me, your resident astrologer of Smudge Wellness, Cole. Now today I do have a little special guest star, Faba, my boyfriend's dog, because he's gone, and if she's not sitting in my lap, she will be crying the entire time. Now, in today's video, we are going to be talking about the biggest challenge for each of the zodiac signs. Now, please let me preface, these are not the only challenges that your zodiac sign might experience or feel on a day-to-day basis or throughout your life. However, from my perception and the way that I interpret these signs, I feel as though these are the best starting point to at least start exploring what your day-to-day challenges might be and what you could potentially start working on a day-to-day basis to make yourself a better, more evolved version of yourself. So without further ado, make sure to check your sun, your moon, and your rising, because we are educated astrological individuals, and we know that we have more than just one placement in our chart, but let's get right into it. Aries, this might seem like a really straightforward one, but it is selflessness. The biggest challenge for Aries is understanding how to allow the feedback from others to influence their life. Aries are the warriors. They're the pioneers. They're the action, their drive, their initiative. This is why we love Aries, because they are able to look at their life and say, I want to make that happen. I want to get that done. I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to start that project. However, on the flip side, Aries has a hard time sometimes taking in the feedback from others, right? And taking in the consideration from others. If we think about the opposite sign to Aries, it's Libra, and Libra is all about relationships and partnerships. So a lot of what Aries has to do is to learn, how can I sort of absorb the initiatives and the dreams and the desires of others and use my naturally charismatic, my naturally sort of leadership and my natural sort of drive and ambition to help push not only myself, but them to grow and become better people. Tauruses, the biggest challenge for you is to let go, right? We know Tauruses to be grudge holders, and there's a lot of grudge holding signs in the zodiac, but Tauruses are the worst at it because Tauruses exist in the fixed earth capacity, which is, this is how it is. These are the facts. These are the figures. This is the way that life exists and the way that we function through that. The hard thing for Taurus, though, is being stuck in the past, chaining themselves to past events, past experiences, past expectations, as opposed to allowing themselves to look at the present and saying, oh, okay, cool, this person or this scenario is, sure, maybe in the same context of something else, or maybe the same scenario of something else, but how is it, illuminating in a different way for this present to help me grow for the future? Tauruses need to let go, cut that shit out, and just say, yeah, I can allow the past to be the past so that it doesn't impact or influence my progression through the future. Geminis, the biggest challenge for Gemini is communicating without fear. Geminis are represented by the twin, which is why so many people are like, Geminis are two-faced, Geminis are fake, Geminis aren't consistent, which is kind of true sometimes. But being the twin, Geminis are always putting themselves in various mental situations to say, how can I make this person comfortable? How can I make that scenario, more fluid and more, adaptable, and making sure that everyone is feeling heard and listened to. Geminis also love communication. They love learning, and they love being able to share that. The thing with Gemini, though, is that they're so hyper-perceptive of the way that socially people are receiving them, because that's the way that they are, right? Geminis have this mentality of like, okay, I perceive the world in this way, and I might be a little critical. I bet everyone's throwing it right back to me, which can limit the expression, right, authentically from a Gemini perspective. It can limit their communicative abilities. This is why Geminis need to learn how to communicate without fear and kind of saying, I don't give a fuck what anyone else thinks or what you might perceive, because I still have something to say and I have something to share. For Cancers, it is to exist and to nurture, but without feeling sorry or melodramatic, right? Cancers are incredibly supportive. They're incredibly nurturing. They're incredibly loving. But Cancers always have this sort of like, woe is me mentality, right? And it's a hard thing for them. In a lot of ways, Cancers have this difficulty of being able to separate, right, from the emotions, right? Being able to separate from the fact that in this moment, I feel bad. And sometimes Cancer, what they need to say and what they need to do and how they need to help is, rather than just leaning into the emotional overload of it all, being able to say, I can feel, I can process, and I can exist in these emotions. However, I can't let them control me, right? Because if they control me, then I'm feeling sorry for myself with no action. Whereas if I say, yes, those emotions are valid, but I still need to work forward, right? I need to move forward. That's an important thing for Cancers to consider. Leos, it's about learning, right? The challenge is being able to create without needing the sense of validation, right? You know, and it's not always like on a grand scale or an exaggerated scale where Leos are like, you know, attention seeking and like, yes, I must be the star of the stage. But in a lot of ways, Leos, you know, seek a sense of validation, even if it's just from one person, right? Even if it's from a small group, not necessarily, right, an entire society. Leos and their perception is that I have something to say, I have something to create, I want the world to hear it. Whereas what they should be saying to themselves is, I have a creative point of view, and the people who receive it will receive it, right? Does not matter if, you know, Auntie Joe and, you know, Bobby Sue over there don't like it, because I don't need that validation to, right, tell me that I'm allowed to create or that what I have to say is or isn't valid, right? Validation for Leos has to come from inside, not externally. Virgos, the biggest challenge is falling in love with being a work in progress. Virgos are the perfectionist. If you have Virgo placements in your chart, like I do, Virgo rising over here, you know how hard it is, right? You know, trying to get everything done right the first time. Virgos know how hard it is trying to be, you know, the best version of yourself, trying to get it done right the first time, trying to be there and being of service to everyone. However, Virgos, no one is perfect, right? I'm not Catholic anymore. However, they do say that, you know, Jesus Christ is the only perfect version. He without sin may throw the first stone. No one can throw, right? No one can throw the stone. And that's the thing with Virgos, right? They are always trying to be perfect, that sometimes they're throwing the stone at themselves in this weird sort of analogy way. They beat themselves up so much for not being able to, you know, be perfect and be idealized and have it done right the first time. Virgos, it's okay to be a work in progress. It is okay to navigate things, and it is okay to sort things out and not have all the answers. Libras, we talked about how Aries need to think about others. You need to think about the self. This is such a huge challenge because the reason Libras are so indecisive, and that is a trope and, you know, a character trait that they've been pegged, is because they're constantly thinking about what is the right scenario, what is the right option, did I weigh everything out, but in context to everyone else in their life. And all the scenarios being like, okay, well, if I did this, that person's going to react that way, which is going to trigger this person to do that, and then I'm going to go back to doing this, and all of this sort of like, you know, ping-ponging back forth math equation energy going on. Whereas Libras, what you need to say is saying, okay, how can I get what I need to do done, and what potentially are the quote-unquote consequences or benefits of that action? However, can I at least find a way to be comfortable and stable enough to say, I am good with prioritizing myself, as opposed to forcing myself to limit my ability to literally get shit done by considering everyone else. It's a hard thing, but it's also an important thing. Learning how to find that balance of selfishness for Libras. Scorpios, yours is pretty straightforward. And whenever I describe Scorpios, I always say they're the biggest hypocrites of the Zodiac. Not because I don't love you, because I do love you, Scorpios. But because for Scorpios, in a lot of ways, they always expect this insane level of vulnerability from others, but don't give it in return. And then Scorpios get upset when they can't build these intimate relations. The challenge for you, Scorpio, is being able to say, can I be as vulnerable as I expect others to be vulnerable with me to build those intimate relationships? All relationships, all connections, all ability to relate to someone else, it's a two-way street, right? And it's not just one person putting in all the work and then you deciding, yep, that's good enough for me, now I'll show my cards. I'm not saying, you know, go crazy like a Gemini and just speak your mind and your truth to any random stranger on the street. However, I am saying that you need to make sure that you are taking enough time to show everyone yourself through that intimate building process, as opposed to just waiting for everyone else to give it to you and then you deciding, yep, they're good enough for me. Sagittarius, the challenge for you is enjoying the fine details, right? Enjoying the little moments. Sagittarius are big, they're expansive, they're exploratory, they're wise. But for you, Sagittarius, it's being able to really be present and being in the present moment and being able to say, oh gosh, that extra 20 minutes to sleep was glorious. Or, you know, the little smile from the barista is like another little joy, as opposed to sometimes forcing yourself to experience life in all of these extremes and all of these grandiose sort of endeavors. Being able to sit and process and say like, wow, literally just being silent, right? And just a short moment of being connected to someone is also very beautiful. Finding that beauty in the mundane life is something that's very important for Sagittarius, is sometimes really hard for them as well. Capricorns, the biggest challenge for you is criticism, not only of yourself, but to others. And that challenge also stems into a sense of projection, right? Projecting insecurities or projecting your own criticisms to yourself onto others. It's about, again, similar to the Virgo mentality, where it's like being, cool with being a work in progress. It's also about allowing people to make mistakes and make up for those mistakes. Capricorns hold people to high regards, high expectations for yourself and to others, because Capricorns are social recognition. Capricorns are what is, the stamp on the world that I'm going to leave. However, it's about saying, I can't be so hypercritical. I cannot be so judgmental. I cannot expect the same out of others that I expect out of myself, but I also can't expect so much out of myself as well. I need to be able to allow myself that ability to not be so judgmental and not be so critical of myself and others. Aquarius, the biggest challenge for you is this isolation by trying to fit in, right? Aquariuses are constantly misunderstood, labeled as quirky, and they, in this same sort of way, don't even understand themselves a lot of the time. Because Aquariuses are so hyper perceptive of society, right, and humanitarianism and the way that the collective is working, they in a lot of ways are also perceptive of the way that they might stand out from the society and the community and the way the collective is working. But what Aquariuses need to learn, what Aquariuses need to tell themselves is that, oh, even if I don't fit in, doesn't mean that I can't be part of the group, right? Aquariuses can sometimes self-isolate and shut themselves off, which is a huge challenge. Aquarius is being able to look at yourself and say, oh, just because I don't fit into the mold isn't a bad thing, right? It doesn't mean that I have to separate from everyone else around me. I can still be a part of the engagements, right? And I can still be part of everything else. Isolation by not fitting in is a hard thing for Aquariuses to do. But once an Aquarius is like, oh my God, wait, I'm allowed to be quirky and weird, I can find my people through that, and I can still be part of the people who might not totally, align the same way I do. It's a very beautiful thing, but a challenging thing. And lastly, Pisces. Pisces, I love you, but your biggest challenge is avoiding escapism. Pisces are ruled by Neptune, right? This Neptunian sort of quality. And Neptune is always about dreams. It's always about spirituality. It's indulgences too, right? It's our glamorized perception of the world. I call Neptune in a lot of ways the reality TV planet, right? Where it's kind of like, oh yeah, that's real, but also like it's not really real. You know what I mean, right? It's kind of scripted just a little bit. And what Pisces needs to do is not to escape from reality, right? Not to escape from problems or scenarios or situations that might be hard for them, might be hard for them to process, might be hard for them to lean into. Also, Pisces need to make sure that they are being realistic and being practical, right? That they're not just escaping into this dream world or this dreamlike quality and just sort of being like, whoa, woo, 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 right? I'm gonna lose myself and everything's so glamorous and everything is so, like aspirational. Pisces really do kind of run away from reality sometimes. So a big challenge for them is avoiding escapism. So, like I said, chickadees, these are just some of the learnings for the signs, and making sure that you look at your big three at the very least is going to be an important thing for you to do when we're discussing these various challenges. And if you want more content on astrology, spirituality, tarot, crystals, anything like that, make sure to check us out here on YouTube, as well as our Instagram and TikTok and all of that good stuff. Can't wait to chat to you guys next time, chickadees.